My favorite thing about all of these new brands, I say that real loosely because Puma is definitely not new, but I feel like the best thing that having all of these like New Balance, Puma, all that stuff back in the mix for the basketball category is that there's so much competition now that it's great for us consumers. There's so many good shoes. Hey, what's good guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and breakdown on these potential bad boys right here. This is Puma's brand new model called the Rise Nitro. And yes, they feel awesome, especially the traction and the cushion. Like those are the two things where I'm just like instantly impressed by them. And I think that you will be too. So with that being said, look at that outsole, man. That is just beautiful. It's awesome. It's wavy and it's super grippy. This rubber though feels a lot different than the previous models that we were just talking about, the TRC Blaze Court. I love that shoe, but that shoe uses the rubber that we've been seeing on a lot of Puma models. This one right here feels a lot different. It's a lot softer. It's just really tacky. When I put it on the wood floor over there, this stuff grips like nobody's business. So I'm really hoping that it does that in every court. Obviously, if there's a lot of dust and things like that, or your finish needs to be redone, it'll probably give you a little bit of slipping. But just overall, based off of a first impression, these things feel really good. Outdoors though, the rubber is very soft, so I probably wouldn't expect them to last too long if you are taking them outside. And then right there at the midfoot, you can see their Pro Plate. That's basically their torsion bar and their spring plate system. It's all in one. This is very similar to what they actually use in the Clyde All Pro, which is one of my favorite shoes of all time. You can even see where it extends all the way through the forefoot area, and that gives you a nice springy, snappy ride. So as you're like, oops, sorry, that was the shoe, that wasn't me. Right. But as you're like, running and everything, it feels very stiff in hand, but it's gonna like flex and then bend back or deflect back into shape, giving you a snappy feel, which is awesome. So if you were somebody that played in the original Air Jordan 11, something very similar, but instead of it being carbon fiber, it is more TPU based. The midsole itself is nitro infused foam. It feels great on foot. These are hella comfortable, man. Like that's, I think, the best thing about Puma is not only did they come out the gate with like some basic ass cushion and stuff, but then they have upgraded all of that stuff, and now every model that they're coming out with is coming out with great foam cushioning. So I think that's fantastic. It's a very similar feel to the MB01. So if you played in those and you like that kind of cushion, then you're probably gonna like this too. Now the upper on these guys is real weird. First off, it's textile everything. It's got this weird shroud on there and all of that stuff. It's very stretchy, but there are extra pieces on there. It looks like a Band-Aid to me, but they call it power tape. And essentially it reminds me a lot of, I always like say the name wrong, so I'm just gonna like the abbreviated thing, but remember KT tape?
I was gonna say KT tape.
Well, it's called something specific. It's like kinesiology or something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
But I believe that's the brand.
No, I know. KT tape is a brand. But either way, it's going to have that type of function. So it's supposed to allow stretch and not allow stretch in certain areas, and that's what those things are on there for. Underneath that shroud, though, there is structure and everything. So there's nylon panels under there with nylon lace loops or strands that go into the strobel, and that's on both sides. So it's built like a traditional shoe. It's just got this extra layer on there for compression. They do not feel like what was the one that I did not like? The Nitro Fusion? Is that what they were called?
No, because Nitro's the color. I know what you're talking about though. Hold up.
It was the one that had like very little eyelets and it had that weird band at the midfoot.
I know what it is.
Hey, I'm just talking.
It's the Puma Fusion.
Was I right this time?
Or no, maybe Spectra is the colorway.
So I was right. That's what I was trying to say. I was right. She's not trying to give it to me.
Babe, you're so right.
Oops, sorry.
Just in case you're curious, the insole is a thick ortholite. It's fairly dense, however, obviously removable. So if you didn't want to use this and you wanted to use your own insole or an orthotic, it's completely removable. You can take it out and you can put in anything that you want. And then on the overlay, we actually have a couple of extra support features that are made out of TPU. I think that it looks awesome. It's their branding, it's their form strip and everything. I really like this weird like plasticky stuff. It reminds me of the Jordan 4, the KD15s, and so on and so forth. And again, that's just an extra layer of support, so that way you don't bust through, hopefully, the upper. Now, as far as fit is concerned, they do fit true to size, so whatever you typically wear, that's exactly what I would go with. If you happen to be a brace wearer, make sure that you bring that with you in stores. However, they are not quite available here in the States just yet. I grabbed my pair from overseas, ID for shoes on eBay. They're pretty much like my go-to right now, especially during the pandemic where like our retailers are not getting product. A lot of people are complaining about that with the pennies and all of that stuff. There's still logistics issues for some reason in shipping, and so like just cargo containers are just sitting on boats and docks and stuff like that, and they're not moving anywhere. So all of the shoes that everybody's been wanting that is supposed to be having released on whatever day, they're not at the stores. So it sucks. Overseas, they obviously don't have that problem because most of these things are made over there, so there's less distance traveled. And yeah, so with that, that's where we get like DHL. Man, DHL is so fast.
They really are.
It's not even comparable at this point. They're faster than I think any service. But anyways, I think that these are cool. They remind me of their soccer stuff, their football, if you will.
Football.
Something though I think is interesting is they came in this really cool box with the basketball texture. It says 73 on there, so since 1973 with their original basketball shoe. You remember what that was? Trivia time. It's the first signature shoe.
Oh, the Puma Clyde. Sorry, my brain was going to these guys back here. I was like, that's a Converse shoe, the Pro Leathers,
yeah,
and I was just like, wrong brand.
Very similar look though. You can probably consider the Chuck Taylor the first signature shoe, but
Yeah.
I consider for basketball specifically the Puma Clyde. That's how like they have always like touted the shoe. It's like, oh, this is the first signature basketball shoe ever.
So this is a mini tangent, but it has to do with like basketball.
Why you gotta say it like that?
So I was listening to this podcast, and this guy, he wanted to know like why Americans are fascinated with football, and he was saying how confused he is because
Like American football?
Yes, because he's from New Zealand and it's rugby and traditional football that's like big where he's at. So soccer, but football.
Actual football.
Yes.
Spelled with a U.
Yes, and so he's like here in America, and he's like, I want to know why like football is such a big deal.
I would like to know that. I don't even know. I'm not into any sport but basketball.
And he's like trying to have people explain the rules of the game to him, and he's just like, I don't get it. He's like, I grew up playing basketball and all of that makes sense to me. And basically who he was talking to was just like, yeah, basketball seems like before the game even started, somebody sat down and was like, these are the rules and we're gonna follow them that way. While with football, it's like, hey, let's go play. Oh, let's make up the rule as we go along. And it kind of reminded me of like how we play beer pong and everything, where we're like, oh, this is a cool rule. We're gonna throw that in there now.
What's that got to do with the shoe though?
I don't know, we were just talking about old-fashioned basketball. 73.
But you're talking about football.
I know, and how confusing the game is to us people who have not grown up.
What's that got to do with these or basketball?
I'm just here.
Oh my God. Man.
Anyways, you guys should listen to it. It's called Flightless Bird. I love it.
Sure. But with all that being said, feel free to let us know what you think about these down below in the comment section. Are you interested in grabbing a pair? Are you interested in trying them out? We will have a performance review for you guys soon, so stay tuned for that. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. And until next time, guys, have a good one. And go learn about some football.
Flightless Bird.
American football. Don't pay attention to shoes or basketball or shoe reviews or none of that stuff. Just go watch that podcast or some shit.
If he's stuck
Or
here
listen to it.
in America long enough, maybe he'll go over basketball.
I just don't care.
It's a great podcast.